Hey everyone, we are live. As always, give me just 1 second and we will start the show. How are you? Good. We are live, I believe. Let's see if we can find people showing up right there. 1 moment and we will roll. All right. Hey, there you are. And that is gone. Beautiful. It looks like we are live. Hey, everybody, how are you? Good to see you, sir. All right. If you cannot hear me or if you cannot see me, if there are any tech difficulties, I learned this on the last stream. Just speak up. I'm watching the chat and I appreciate the kindness as well. Hey, what's happening? Hey, how you doing? All right. Good to see people. How are you? I hope it's not too cold where you are. It is. I'm in Texas. Why is it so freezing here? I don't know. It is. Let me start by sharing a positive resource. I mean, today I'm going to talk about gratitude for a few minutes. And you know what? I don't think we have enough positive resources in our lives. We too often gravitate to things that are just simple and negative and capture the worst part of us. I don't like that. So here's one for you. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Happynews.com. Just happynews.com. Go check it out. Yes, I think you should read the mainstream press. Absolutely. Then go find something dorky and even international. I love BBC, for example, but you should also go find something positive that will lift your spirits. And when you find a good article, go share it with someone. Hey, how's that? That's one way right there to show some gratitude. Happynews.com. Next, I want to make sure that you know I've started another stream with a good friend of mine, Sarah Canaday. We're going every other Tuesday. We're in an off week right now. Hey, everybody. Susan, Houston, how are you? All right. Thanks, Cheryl. Shoemake, good to see you. We're going every other Tuesday, and this week is an off week. Next week, it is Tuesday, noon Central with me and the amazing Sarah Canaday. If you don't know Sarah, she's a great writer and leadership personality. We've had fun working together in different ways, including some LinkedIn learning courses. And we have a lot of fun talking about tough solutions managers face. And next week is one of my favorites, mistakes. Yes, well, we make them. I know I do. And frankly, they're not to be a source of shame. They are supposed to be something we use that helps us grow. We're going to talk about that next Tuesday. I want you to follow Sarah and join us when we go live. Next up, I just finished. Oh, I'm so excited to tell you this. I just finished 2 days of shooting with a group locally, a studio locally in Houston where I live called Adhere Creative. Great people over there. And we're shooting new courses. I put 4 new courses in the bank. I'm very excited. Lots of editing and such to be done, and where and when those are going to show up that I can share with you, I will let you know. But man, did I have a lot of fun. I hope you don't mind my French, but they have a big motto on their wall. And if you look at my posts there on LinkedIn, you'll see a picture of it. It says, "Do epic shit." Forgive my language, but God, I like that motto. And I think we did just that for a couple days in the studio with them. That makes me very, very excited. One more announcement. I'm going to jump into talking about gratitude in just a minute. I mean, speaking of gratitude, let me tell you something I'm grateful for, I'm thankful for. Bam! New book is out. It's called Live Hard. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I love stories. I love getting on stage, delivering keynotes. That's always stories for me. And you know what? I love writing about them as well. That's kind of where it started. So the book that gave me some attention at first was Show Your Ink, 20 Stories About Leadership in Life. This is the second story-based book, Live Hard. It's I'm excited. There's a lot of personal, uplifting, practical advice in here about living fully, about really embracing creativity and innovation, about taking principled risks, about really living as you see fit on your terms in an effort to find success. This is uplifting. If you haven't found all the presents you need for your professional friends this year, folks, this is it. Go over to Amazon, check it out. I think you're going to like it. And for those who care and follow my approach to writing these story-based books as some of the books that I write, I have one more. I'm dreaming long-term about at least 3 story-based books. It'll be Show Your Ink. I've got the book and a keynote that's very popular. Live Hard just came out. I'm very excited. I've got the book and I almost polished the keynote, ready to start delivering that. I have courses for both of those that'll be ready in just a few weeks. Very excited. They've already been shot. Now they're being edited for both Show Your Ink and Live Hard. And I got one more tentative title, a few years away. Tentative title, Matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, exclamation point. That is a book about really leaving a mark, leaving a legacy, living happily, and having people be better off as a result. How do you do that? I'm starting to think about another 20 stories that might answer that question and be useful to all of us. So I'm very excited. I hope you'll check out Live Hard. All right. If I'm going to wrap up 2020, can you believe we're about to wrap up 2020? Well, I have to think about this concept of gratitude. By the way, I'm not done. There should be one more live just for me this year. Hey, how you doing? Mara from Lagos, what's happening? Laura Dean, what's going on? Hickam, how are you? This is good stuff. I have to talk about gratitude because, well, if you're surviving, then I think you're with me. I know that some of us have taken hits. I know that there have been, well, multiple unexpected curveballs this year for all of us. And it's been a stress. If you can believe what you're reading, and I'm a little more in deep on the news in the States than the rest of the globe, but I do read the international press all the time and have lots of friends in other countries. So there are people that are in trouble. We're seeing lines around the block time and again for food banks. We're seeing people that are dealing with loss of jobs and loss of support nets from the government. And we're struggling with that. And because of my online presence, especially on LinkedIn, where I just love my friends at LinkedIn, but thanks to those courses at LinkedIn Learning, I hear from people all the time. And lately, in the last few months, I've been receiving a lot of notes, and it makes me feel grateful, and it makes me feel sad, and sometimes it just makes me feel confused. And I strive then to do what I preach, which is to search hard, intentionally, proactively, to become positive, to see a positive perspective. The notes say things like this: I am now without a job. COVID has been a pain, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate your courses, and I appreciate your motivating us out here. And that makes me cry. I bet you don't cry when you read LinkedIn. I do. I very often do. And I have a lot of gratitude for all the people who follow what I do, consume those courses, read the books, and everything else. So that's why I spend a lot of time coaching for free on LinkedIn. People send notes, I respond. That's the way it works. All right, gratitude is usually defined as a state of being grateful or thankful. I like that, but it's a state of being, and that just kind of doesn't sit with me well, because when I think of gratitude and how you and I should go grapple with it and help others with it, well, it's really action-oriented. It feels like a verb, or should be. So let's think of it from that perspective. Let me ask you first, what's the reality? How well do you think people actually deal with gratitude? Do you think we remember to do it enough and to do it correctly? I'll tell you my honest, hey, Heidi, and thank you so much. That's awesome. I have to tell you my observation, and in many ways, it's what I do. I observe and think and share, and hopefully people find that useful. In my observation, people really screw up, call it what you want, gratitude all the time. They do. They forget to do it, which is very common. We're busy, we're self-focused, and we don't do it the way we probably should. So that's number one. Number two, and this one's even more insidious. Ready? We do it, but it's insincere. Have you ever seen that before? Someone says, thank you, and they don't really mean it. You can tell they knew they were supposed to say it. Have you ever seen someone, because it's a holiday, send out the cards, give a gift, say happy holidays, hope you and the fam are well, or whatever they might say? A million versions of this are out there. It's the right time. Someone knows it's the right time, but they're doing it because they think it's an obligation, a thing we're supposed to do. I, as a leadership educator, I have to tell you, I have lots and lots and lots of people who I watch and who share with me stories where folks are doing what they think because they've deduced it, or they've read, or they've listened to somebody talk about something they should do. And so they do it because it's somehow supposed to be useful, productive, correct, whatever, but they don't mean it. They're just doing it. There's a lot of weird things that happen when you act in a fashion that is insincere. Have you ever seen someone you know that they're doing something insincere? Hear me carefully. They're not trying to cause problems. They're not trying to be a problem in any way. They want to do a good thing, but they don't mean it. And when you don't mean it, no heart is in there. It's not genuine. It's a thing you think you're supposed to do. Here's the bad news. You can actually do damage. That's correct. You can say thank you and cause a problem. Think about that for just a second. You can say thank you or give someone recognition, give someone a gift, give someone an award, and cause a problem because they don't believe you, and thus receiving it becomes them being complicit in an insincere exchange. It's fascinating to me. The intricacies of communication are fascinating. I can't believe these kind of obvious things that we do all the time that aren't productive, that we could do differently, that we could avoid or do more productively if we would just think about them. I could go off about how education has not helped us enough to understand communication. But back to gratitude. Back to gratitude. So when is gratitude right? Well, when it's appropriate, measured, and genuine. Appropriate, measured, and genuine. Listen to this. It's appropriate when you need to say thanks or motivate someone. It's appropriate when you need to say thanks, and there's a million times we probably need to say thanks. Or disconnected from any specific thing, just a time based on our history together and things you like about them. You just want to motivate someone, maybe give them a boost. Both of those make a lot of sense in terms of your motive for trying to show gratitude. Measured. What do I mean by measured? Well, you can't always be giving the most tiny thank yous ever. You can't always be giving over the top huge shows of gratitude that would make anyone embarrassed and feel strange. You can't do that either. First of all, you should mix it up a little bit. That would be useful for a variety of reasons so that people don't see it coming and don't predict you and do see you as sincere. But I also like to remind people that we're all somewhere different on the spectrum in terms of gratitude and remembering to say thanks. And you do want to be wary of frequency, because if you're doing it all the time, there is a tendency for people to not hear it, feel it, believe it as much if there's a thank you, a high five, a pat on the back, a public comment, something all the time. My opinion, you should always be kind, not always thanking people. Always be kind, helpful and supportive, kind. And then a little more rarely, or I should say a little less frequently, not rarely, but less frequently, the actual overt thank you as a show of gratitude, because then it actually matters. Then they feel it. Why? Because they didn't hear it from you twice every day, 7 days a week. Does that make sense? Okay. What are the benefits? Very obvious what the benefits are, I think. For you, again, the assumption is that it's genuine and sincere. For you, well, you get a positive feeling. And almost all humans, there are rare exceptions, but almost all humans feel good about helping others. They don't necessarily see it that way when they're thinking, should I go say something kind? Should I go do something kind? But when they do, it almost never feels bad. It always feels good. It feels good to be good. And I love sharing that with you. And guess what? It also helps the other person not just feel better, but build a stronger perspective, because you don't know where they are. You should always assume someone could use a little more perspective, and a few kind words from you as a show of gratitude, in fact, can help them find the mental strength necessary to build a positive or a more positive perspective. All right, let's talk tactics. For the next 10 minutes or so, I want to be really practical and say, okay, showing gratitude matters. I hear you, Todd. Let's talk tactics. What do you do? What are the ways you might think about doing this? This is far from an exhaustive list, but it's the things that were top of mind for me that I know there's some research on, and more importantly, just useful common sense that these are good. Here's the first one. Choose to be mindful. So just to build on everything we said, choose to be mindful, present in the moment, knowing you're not going to do something unless you mean it. And that goes for every thank you or show of gratitude you might give. Choose to be present, honest, focused, mindful, and sincere. Mean it or don't do it. Give yourself just 2 or 3 seconds of saying to yourself, be sincere, be in the moment, be mindful, and deliver. Just 2 or 3 seconds of thinking that. That way you avoid giving that stale, potentially interpreted as insincere bit of gratitude that nobody really feels motivated by or thankful for. Next, obvious but important, public recognition. You now have, more than ever before, tools at your disposal. Group chats, email, live streams. There's all kinds of networks inside organizations now more than ever, and you should use them. If you're talking about public comments, it could be a town hall meeting, it could be a one-on-one conversation, it could be a weekly team meeting. There are many, many examples. But what happens, and again, frequency matters, being sincere matters. But what happens is that you're not just telling someone, thinking about someone, first of all, or talking privately. You're showing how much, in some regard, you actually value them by saying something about what they did, how you feel about it in front of others. That is a beautiful show of respect that amplifies how you feel about someone. Again, I don't think we're supposed to be standing on a table and shouting about how much we love certain people with whom we work all the time. But when you measure it out appropriately and do it once in a while, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that has impact. When it goes public, people know that you mean it. Okay, how about, I put down creative small acts. This is a forgotten art in the world of gratitude that I want you to think about. Good stuff. Good comments. I'm going to try to get a couple questions in just a few minutes, by the way. Good stuff. Here's something that I think is lost in this conversation. Small creative acts. Do you remember these? These used to be magical. That's a small Post-it note. You can get any size you want these days, of course. You know what? Leaving someone a personalized note. You could send a generic email. You could tell everyone, I'm giving so-and-so the high five award, and then they get that 8.5 by 11 superstar high five award off of the laser printer that half the office has already received. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying we often overdo it, and it's not personal. And if you want to have impact when you try to connect with someone, show gratitude, maybe motivate them, well, you really want to be personal. A little note is one of my favorites. 3, 4, 5, 6 words. That's it. You're saying thanks and noting what for and signing your name. That is a personal message. It's not an email that feels generic, cold, and black and white. It's a personal message. Again, you can't do it every day, twice a day for everyone. But when you choose to make that the act you give someone, they know that you did something unique for them. They know that you're sincere. They can hear it in your voice when you're talking to them, but there are other ways to do it in a note. I'm telling you, it's a lost art. Leave someone who needs it and deserves it a note next week, and you'll make them smile. I love that. There's perks, there's lunches, there's all kinds of little things you can do if you're a leader without spending too much money to show gratitude. And I'll remind you, speaking of food, if you haven't heard this in a while, it's true. It's a universal bonding thing. It takes people of all kinds of differing attitudes, perspectives, personalities, and values and brings them together because we all love it and we all need it. Don't forget how food brings people together. It is one of the best group thank yous you'll ever find. And you can mix it up. Bring in bagels. Sometimes you bring in donuts. Once in a while you do cupcakes. Then you cater lunch. Then you have people do a potluck. I could keep going on. There's many different ways you could use food as a show of gratitude. And I love it when people do that myself. Here's a huge one. You want to show gratitude, you volunteer and you sacrifice. I'm thinking in particular, not just in general in life, but in particular at business, in particular for leaders or people with strong influence. Either way, volunteer and sacrifice. Now, by volunteer, that could take many different versions. It could be you staying late. It could be you showing up early. It could be you rolling up your sleeves to go help the team with a couple tasks you know they're struggling with and we're up against a deadline. Get out of your office, roll up your sleeves, go sit down uninvited and say, where can I help? And do the work that they're doing. Do not try to find work that is somehow on your level. Go do what they're doing and help them to the finish line. Volunteer. It might be a committee that's going to benefit the team that needs an extra person and you're going to sit on that committee. It could be a social event happening at work that deals with the employees or the community and they need extra help. You're going to help them. Volunteer. It could be coaching. It could be 5 o'clock quitting time and you want to leave and you know there's a person striving, wanting to grow, but they need some more feedback and you've seen opportunities to help them. Take time. Volunteer it from your schedule. Tell them you want 10 minutes and talk to them. That is a show of gratitude like nobody's business because now you're investing in them. Is there a better show of gratitude than to invest in someone? Maybe that's way better than any perk or high five award you could ever give them. I love that. I love that. Good comments, good ideas. Good. Okay, I have a couple more and they have stories to go with them. And I think you're going to like these. One of them involves my wife, Cheryl. I got to tell you, you really want to do something unexpected once in a while. Remember how I said frequency can't be all the time. You got to mix it up. And I don't want to say rare, but a little more seldom on some of the things we do, whether it's awards for great performance, or in this case, whether it's gratitude that we're trying to show in different ways. One of the best ways to make sure that they don't risk feeling insincerity, that they get that you're invested, they understand that you're being genuine, is to do something that they don't expect. from you, something they don't expect from you. We have a new dog. If you follow me on Facebook, we got a new dog, still a puppy. I love the dog. The dog is lucky that it's cute. Otherwise, it may not have lasted this long because it's acting like a puppy. It hasn't figured out exactly where to go potty yet correctly all the time, and it's tearing some things up. You know how puppies do. But the dog's amazing. Anyhow, I came home the other day and I saw something that blew me away. The dog's wearing a sweater. Now I'm going to tell you about the sweater because it's amazing. It was, in fact, a show of gratitude. I don't know if she framed it in her mind that way, but when my wife bought the sweater for the dog, it was a show of gratitude to me. A thank you for my help with issues that she's working on. A thank you to me in a way that was unique and a way that was unexpected from her. You see, my PhD is from Texas A&M. I do love my Aggies, and they were kind enough to give me a doctorate some years ago. And I have some gear with the A&M logo. And over the years, Cheryl has made fun of me because, well, this is what we do when you're married. Sometimes you pick on each other in a loving way. And she's always picked on me when someone in public will see an A&M shirt and they'll talk to me because I live in Houston. And there's Aggies everywhere. And she's always ribbed me and kind of snarled at it. Why? Just for kind of dark humor. It's funny. I knew she liked to make fun of that part of my life. And she's certainly not buying me any new gear, that's for sure. And then I came home the other day and there's that puppy. Beautiful. Her name's Rachel. Rachel's looking so cute in a sweater that blew my mind. It was a Texas A&M maroon and white sweater. The thing she always made fun of for me embracing, she embraced. And she put it on that dog that we love. And that was, without having to say it this way, an amazing sign of gratitude. It was a huge thank you. And it meant something. Why? Because it was unexpected. I want you to think about that creative, unexpected thing the team, your friend, your partner, your kids doesn't see coming, that plays against your normal personality, because then they know you were thoughtful. Then they know, here's that word again, that you are being sincere. Genuine gratitude is what we're striving for. I have one more example. One more example. When you want to show gratitude, help people know that they matter. When you want to show gratitude, help people know that they matter. I've got a lot of stories here, but I'm going to share one very briefly. Back in the day, I had the privilege of serving for a decade as an MBA professor up in the state of Ohio at a great school called Wright State University. And I loved teaching these MBA courses. And I had an example shared with me one night by students, and it goes like this. You got a whole bunch of people working for Wright-Patt Air Force Base, massive Air Force Base, Dayton, Ohio. A whole bunch of people working in this one particular division, I don't remember the right words here, forgive me, but an area of the organization where they did massive amounts of paperwork, boring in a cube every day, stacks of paperwork, boring technical things to fill out because they were requisitions. They were basically purchasing agents of a type who were supporting the U.S. Air Force. So we have a bunch of people who are doing what it takes to get a million little tiny parts that are needed by Air Force pilots, fighter jet pilots. So the job, of course, has meaning, but they don't feel it every day. They don't feel gratitude every day. Why? Because they're lost in a boring cubicle amidst piles of paperwork every day. A boss who was my student saw this and decided to do something about it. And so that boss didn't tell the team what he was going to do, but he wanted to connect them to the outcome they actually support in a way that demonstrates meaningful, sincere gratitude. This is what he did. He walked in one day, everybody gathered around. He gathered them all around, got 20, 30 individuals in this little organization. And I'm going to tell you what you do matters. In fact, I don't want to tell you. I brought someone here to tell you. And then he opened the door at the side of the office, and in walked two fighter pilots from the U.S. Air Force. And they're wearing their jumpsuits and they're carrying their helmets. They walked in and walked right up to this gathered group of employees. And they're not professional speakers. They're just good people doing a job they believe in. And they walked right up to this group, and for 10, 15 minutes, they said hello and explained why they were full of gratitude for the work these people in these cubes with these piles of paper were doing. Because in a literal sense, the work they're doing matters and keeps these airplanes functioning correctly. And these two people took time out of their undoubtedly busy schedule to come say hello in a way that no one had ever said hello to these cube dwellers before. Can you imagine how excited they were? Can you imagine how work goes from, I don't know why I'm supposed to be passionate about this, to holy cow, I'm grateful for what I do in an instant because of someone's kind act that shows genuine gratitude. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that, but I definitely want to challenge you. Most things that we know about motivating other people do not cost a dime. Showing gratitude, for example, can have money attached to it. You can buy a cake for a birthday, you can throw a party, you can give someone a perk, et cetera, et cetera. I know that. On the other hand, there's a multitude of things that cost nothing. It's a gesture, it's a comment, it's a note, it's a phone call that gets those fighter pilots to walk in. If you'll take just a few minutes and think about the most valuable boss you've ever had. Maybe you love your current boss, the colleague or two with whom you know you couldn't work without them, right? Because they're indispensable to you. They do things for you that make your life possible. Stop and think creatively like the guy in that story did about what thing maybe they won't expect that will show them that they matter and that will show them that you have gratitude for what it is that they do. This year is wrapping up very, very quickly. And I think that we've been so stressed out, so unbelievably in awe of the ridiculousness of 2020 that many of us, and I know this has happened to me too, have not been showing as much gratitude as we probably should. So I'm going to challenge you to remember to do that with your closest friends, your closest family members, your partner, your kids, and at work. Think about the people who get it done every day, who do great work, who lift your spirits, make it just, you able to stay sane when you show up every day. And what little thing can you do to help them know that you get it and you appreciate it? That is gratitude. Speaking of gratitude, reading a question here. Hit home maximum. Actually, I'm seeing good comments, not questions. Let me make a comment that I always make, which is, you know what? If you get lost listening to the guy who talks too fast when I do these streams, I understand that. If you want to reach out on LinkedIn, if we're not connected yet, we should be. Please connect and send your question. I'll be sure to answer. I actually really enjoy doing it, so feel free to reach out. I'll also get back on and look at the stream when we're done and make sure I talk to anyone I did not get a chance to talk to. I hope that, like me, you love science and maybe you'll roll the dice and take that vax and we'll get this virus under control. That is my hope as well. Two more things. Boom! Go check this out. If you've not seen it yet, there's going to be a few stories that touch you emotionally, and it's going to be something you want to share. I'm excited to share it with you. Last comment, can you think of just one person who tops your list who deserves some of your gratitude? Figure out a way to go say thanks, and maybe you'll make their day. What better gift could there possibly be? I'll be back next time. Until then, I hope you're well. Take care.